delve into the details of make files and whatever else. And it was easier to cater towards those people. I think what's happened now is, as Linux has expanded massively, is we're getting some really, truly new users joining, as in people who don't have a lot of computing experience, let alone Linux experience. So therefore, you need to accommodate the desktop towards, I think, that new demographic. Now, GNOME 2, I think, has always done a wonderful job of delivering value to a fairly wide variety of users, but I think it was beginning to reach its limitations in terms of the kind of people who have a very casual interest in technology or casual use of technology. And that's why I think GNOME 3 is a really wonderful project, is that, the project's realigning itself around those things. But the final point as well is that one thing you see with any release, particularly with a new user interface, is a period of acclimatization. I'm sure that the two of you have both got cell phones, and you've both bought devices like televisions and maybe some games consoles and whatever else. You've bought like devices, and I'm sure that what happens is, when you get a device and you switch it on for the first time, there's a natural period of acclimatization. I got an Android tablet very recently, and it took me a little while to get used to it, but I didn't feel the necessary need to go out there and criticize its design decisions, because frankly I just don't care that much about the Android tablets, whereas with Ubuntu I do care. And I think that level of acclimatization is fairly common in technology, and we're seeing a lot of that happening with Unity right now.
Yeah, a few points I'd like to make. So first of all, there is the situation with Unity is a bit complicated for existing users, including the new users you speak about. The matter of habits usually defines what people consider to be a good interface and a bad interface. A good interface is not necessarily an objective statement. If the person is looking at things, that's basically what the user expects. I consider it to be a good interface something that I can use very fast. If a user is going to be presented by default with a different user interface, he or she will not be too pleased about it at first. Productivity looks like that. So the claim that you try to cater for new users I think is a bit complicated by the fact that the existing so-called new users, so people who joined, say, 6 months ago, are going to be confused again. They're going to face a new interface. Once again, they have to relearn everything.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable assertion to make as well. But I think you face that with any advancement in anything really, not just technology.
I think it's true to an extent. I like to think of the examples of Firefox, of WordPress, even Apache, where even if you upgrade, it's not so easy to see what's changed. Things have expanded beneath the hood. You can change settings. You can improve by, adding your favorite features and exploring the new features. But on the surface, it will look the same, and it will be able to do what it used to do. Even KDE 4, since the release of KDE 4.0, all that's really happened is that things have fewer. Well, first of all, they have fewer bugs. The second thing, you can find more of the option you used to have in KDE 3, and then you have newer things on top of that. I think the issue with Unity based on reviews I've been reading and watching so far, I haven't used it so far, but is that, first of all, it's got some bugs in it. Existing users usually have some issues with that. I think journalists who don't have prior experience with Linux, they're quite interested in that. There is the question of whether you try to address a new pool of users or a new pool of devices. So there is the factor here, I suppose, which is the how you approach things like tablets. If you look at the what's it called, Netbook Remix or something like that, UNR.
Right.
I think that's where Unity to an extent came from. Some of parts of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, changes change, and I'm not going to deny for a second that there is a certain level of transition in change from two perspectives. One is somebody getting used to a new product, a new user interface, such as Unity is one such example, and then the second component is the newness and the freshness of that product it often exhibits some bugs. One thing we knew going into Unity in 11.04 was we knew that there was going to be some bugs. I mean, I think that the desktop experience team in the Ayatana project, you have these community you have the canonical contributors who have worked on, Ayatana and Unity and all its components day in, day out. And then we built like 17 new contributors from the community who contribute to Unity in the cycle. They've worked their socks off, and no one can deny that. But they knew that there was going to be some bugs as well. It's the same with every new piece of technology. The thing that excites me about this change is the fact that I think looking at the level of, looking at the risk reward, I think the level of risk involved in the shift to Unity is going to pay off in the long run in terms of the opportunity that it will provide for the user experience. I mean, one thing that we're going to be doing in 11.10 is really a fit and finish release. I don't think anybody should expect anything near as interesting as in terms of new things going on in 11.10 as they did in 11.04, because Mark has said, we want to go into this cycle and we want to refine and we want to fix and we want to add some configurability where it needs to be added, to really get the Unity, really buffed up. So I think we're aware of that, but I feel like the level of investment in terms of making that change will actually benefit us in the long run, because I think that Unity, I don't think that Unity itself is the only thing that's going to deliver free software to the masses, but I think it's an important component. I think it's way less important than a lot of people make out. I mean, all I've heard about for the last 6 months has been Unity.
I think fair enough. Yeah, I was just going to mention a quick point to listeners, because I think people think we only concentrate on one single thing about the release of Ubuntu, but I think this is by far the most major thing that's actually changed. Of course, we can talk about everything else, but it's just going to be very. I mean, we had a special show with the ambassador from Fedora when version 14 came out, and we speak about the same things. I think back then we were talking about, gradient preparations towards that. And of course, Fedora 15 is going to probably be one of the major new releases that actually brings people to the new shell.
Of course, yeah.
And one thing I was going to ask, and this is maybe more to do with the company than the project, is it possible the company is trying to strategize with Unity because of a vision, something to test as well, something that resembles the strategy at Google, for example, trying to pre-install Ubuntu on tablets and things like that.
There is absolutely no doubt that a key focus of Canonical is to go out there and get Ubuntu pre-installed on machines.
Because in here I think you're trying to focus or to facilitate touch screens, all kinds of things. I mean, even the size of the icons you have in a desktop now. I suppose it's being somewhat generalized to a bunch of users who use it on a desktop. But you don't necessarily you try to cater to types of users in the same UI basically.
I mean, part of the reason why it's called Unity as well is the idea of having a unified experience across devices. You can install Ubuntu on a netbook or you can install it on a desktop, and you will get basically the same user interface, but the UI will make the most out of that particular device. I mean, for example, the reason why the launcher is on the left-hand side is because most machines these days are coming pre-installed with widescreen displays, and there is an abundance of horizontal pixels, and there is less vertical space, and that's the reason why the windows maximize into the panel, and that's the reason why there is a global menu, and that's the reason why a lot of these decisions have been made about providing as much focus on the content. But you make a good point. I mean, Canonical is definitely focused on getting Ubuntu pre-installed on machines, and the reason for that is because our goal has been very straightforward and simple from the very beginning, is to make free software ubiquitous, and it's to take free software to the masses. This is the reason why, frankly, I'm still at Canonical. Since my tenure at Canonical, I've been, people have approached me with different positions in other companies, and the reason why I'm staying at Canonical is because I'm excited about the premise of really taking free software to a completely new user base. People like my mum and dad. And the only way you can get that software there is really for people to to really hit that mainstream,